In the coming weeks, we'll find out just how far our elected lawmakers are willing to go to protect our children from future gun massacres. But we already know how far lawmakers are willing to go to protect us from Middle Eastern terrorists, a group that has killed nothing close to the number of Americans who die every day because of the NRA. If Al-Qaeda were to strike the United States, for example, in the last remaining weeks of this year and kill as many Americans as 3 9/11s, the carnage still wouldn't compare to what guns do to Americans every single year. So far in 2012, more than 9,000 Americans have died by way of the gun. Almost 100,000 were shot. Just this last Saturday alone, 190 people in America were shot. And in Newtown, Connecticut, 20 first graders are dead, gunned down by an assault rifle borrowed from a gun nut mom. It's interesting and instructive to compare our national response to Muslim religious extremist killers versus our response to largely white Christian extremist killers. At the end of 2001, a British Islamic fundamentalist named Richard Reed tried to take down an American Airlines flight headed to Miami by igniting a bomb hidden in his shoe. He failed and no one died. But extreme measures were immediately put into place in airports around the nation, forcing us to take off our shoes before we could board an airplane. And more than a decade later, we still have to take off our shoes at the airport. In 2006, British police claimed they foiled a terror plot aimed at 10 transatlantic flights headed to the United States in which liquid explosives were to be used. Plot never happened, no one died, but again, extreme security measures were taken to ban all liquids and gels over 3 ounces from being carried beyond the security checkpoint at the airport. That ban is still in place. In 2009, an alleged Nigerian Islamist tried to blow up a Northwest Airlines flight headed to Detroit by lighting his underwear on fire. He failed, no one died. But in another hysterical and expensive response, we spent billions on Chertoff X-ray porno scanners. And for those who didn't want the radiation, our groins and breasts are thoroughly examined by hand. These 3 terror plots, though never carried out and not responsible for the death of a single American, triggered radical and very profitable security changes that have trashed our civil liberties. And to add insult to injury, epidemiologists tell us that more people will die from cancer from the Chertoff X-ray porno machines causing cancer than have died in any year of the past decade from terrorism in the United States. When the danger is terrorism, our policymakers and lawmakers respond quickly, with frankly little concern about either cost or civil liberties. But with our national epidemic of gun violence, it's an entirely different story. After 13 people were murdered in Columbine in 1999, not a single thing was done to address gun safety. Just like nothing was done after the D.C. sniper killed 10 people in 2002, or after 32 people were gunned down at Virginia Tech University in 2007, or after a deranged man with very expensive assault weapons killed 6 people in Tucson and shot Congresswoman Gabby Giffords through the brain in 2011. Despite that attack being so close to home for members of Congress, still no action was taken on gun safety. Just like no action was taken after the Aurora, Colorado theater shooting this year that killed 12 people. And nothing was done after the Sikh temple massacre in Oak Creek, Wisconsin this year that killed 6 people. Had any of those mass shootings been done by Al-Qaeda and called terrorism, our national response would have been swift and decisive and arguably hysterical. Instead, we got bupkis, which is in part because Al-Qaeda didn't make the smart investment that Colton Remington did and get the NRA to lobby for them. Just this year alone, the NRA has spent nearly $19 million, much of it from weapons manufacturers here in D.C. and across America, to make sure that the gun industry can continue to make huge profits. Those investments keep in place the sale of assault weapons like the Bushmaster, which was used last Friday to murder 20 children. Those investments keep in place the sale of high-capacity clips, like the ones believed used last Friday to murder 20 children. Those investments keep in place background check loopholes, which put guns into the hands of criminals and the mentally ill, and put in place numerous limitations on our own government's ability to track guns or their users. Ironically, in 2011, the NRA beat back a gun control measure that would have prevented those on the FBI's terror watch list, can't get on an airplane, would have prevented them from purchasing a gun. They killed it in the Senate. So in the future, should Al-Qaeda carry out the next mass shooting in America, they may well have been able to do so because of the efforts of the NRA. Money is another factor. Contracts to defense corporations and security firms after 9/11 have exploded as both Presidents George W. Bush and President Barack Obama expanded our war economy and constructed a fierce security state at home. Protecting the lives of Americans is given as the main reason for the X-rays and groin checks, but Michael Chertoff has made millions selling those airport porno scanners. Similarly, there's enormous money to be made in the manufacture and sale of firearms. Yet there's very little money to be made in the restriction of firearms. The NRA's Second Amendment freedom argument is just a cover for the real reason why they don't want Americans to enjoy freedom from gun nuts. There are millions, arguably billions, in profits to be made keeping open the flow of deadly weapons, no matter how many kids' lives are put at risk. Let's tell the truth. The NRA's hands are far bloodier than Al-Qaeda's. We as a nation wouldn't tolerate a Muslim suicide bombing of a school bus that killed 20 first graders. So why do we tolerate mass shootings that do the same? There are more than 20 mass shootings every year in America, and over 100 people are shot every day in America. But the NRA tells us we can't do something about guns? The rest of the world, the developed world, figured this out a long time ago. In countries from Australia to England, from Switzerland to Israel, you have to prove that you actually have a need for a gun in order to either buy or own one or buy or own ammunition.